should get, like, the 10 best zones maps in the game, like, voted on by a poll of good players, and then just play those for the most part. I think competitive integrity-wise, that's the best thing for the game. And, like, I don't think it's boring either. Like, the SendouQ Major tournament that happened this Sunday was probably one of the most entertaining tournaments I've ever seen, and that shit was zones-only random map. Like, the most annoying part of that tournament is the occasional time where we would see, like, a really awful zones map played. But that's it. What changed to make it feel good? Mostly just cooler. Before cooler, I kind of preferred all modes. Like, the more we played with cooler meta, I just don't really... It's like cooler plus the maps. I think the maps are a bigger problem, to be fair. Like, the map modes are so shit. Like, I hate that TC Inkblot is, like, our standard for tower maps. Like, most people think that's the best tower map in the game. That's so fucking depressing. In an ideal world, TC Blot should not be a map we ever play. Like, Rainmaker, I think the most voted one was Scorch Rain. Which, like, yeah, amazing, dude. We got the map with one actual Rainmaker path that's built like 2 fucking bowls. And everyone just goes in the same way every time. And then Clan Blitz has, like, crack and cheese on it. Is probably the stupidest thing ever. Like, I didn't mind crack and cheese pre-cooler. Like, I really didn't, because crack and cheese was shit pre-cooler, but crack and cheese with cooler is, like, the dumbest strategy in this entire series. I think it's dumber than Ray. It doesn't break the game more than Ray, but it's, like, incredibly stupid. Root for TC Inkblot, but please, I've been praying for the day where you vouch for zones. I mean, I've never disliked zones only. I've just preferred all modes. I thought that, like, in S2, I think all modes with a map list was really good. And then when S3 came out, I hated, like, a lot of the zones maps in terms of how they played. I've come around to it a bit more, but I think part of it has been, like, cooler rapidly changed my mind a lot. Like, I think the way cooler has changed how people play has changed my opinion on it a lot. But, I don't know. It might have also just been some of my bias from S2, because I truly think that zones in S2 felt awful. I think everything in S2 felt awful, though, honestly. Yeah, like, triple splash on everything with zones. It was unbearable in general, honestly. But I don't know, I've kind of come around to it where, like, I think that zones only right now is kind of just what we need. It's a lot more than that, to be fair. Like, there are other specials I have smaller issues with, like Bubble on Tower is one, for example. But a lot of those are, like, not as big a deal. I think right now, the way I see it, I think that Zones has the most diversity of strategies. I think it has, by far, the best map mode combinations in the game. Like, I don't think it's even close. I think Zones has more good map mode combos than Tower and Rainmaker combined. I think you have to, like, add clams to have as many map modes as you can play in Zones. And yeah, no, I've always fucking hated TC Block, dude. I hate these, like, defensive, you drop into this tiny area, you can't back up. Because, like, what are you gonna do? You drop bottom right, you're in a corner, anyone, like, Inkjet's booty-as crab tanks, you just fucking die. And you can't go backward, because it's a one-way drop, or you can go to the left side, be in the worst positional imaginable, and then you have to have the luxury of trying to walk back up a ramp. You can go for a flank that's too long because the tower goes the wrong way. Like, oh my god, dude. I don't know how people have fun with this map. Splashdown is not painted. Yeah, they made Splashdown not zones cheese, and I kind of like that. Yeah, I mean, I get why the map is, like, spammed a lot. I understand that. And, like, I even get why it's picked for tower, because, like, what the fuck else are you gonna pick? Like, I hate TC Block too, but it's probably the third best tower map in the game. Like, it's hard to pick stuff over it. Maybe fourth now that Ramen's in. Like, that's the sad part. It's like, what the fuck else are we gonna play? Like, I think if we are gonna do an all modes event, I think the best thing possible is to stack the map list in zones' favor. Like, do like, I don't know, 6 to 8 zones maps, and then do 2 maps in every other mode. And then make it like a counterpick thing with like zones preferred through the set. So you do like 1 zones, 1 every other mode, 1 zones, every other mode zones for a BO5. And then you just have 2 of each. And then you can like do tower on like some of the best maps only, and like maybe that's most tolerable. But like at that point, if you're doing a rule set like that, I feel like you're doing it just for the viewer. Because I know for viewer-wise, then yeah, I can understand people enjoy the variety a bit more. Like, I get that. I really do. I don't want to get like I don't understand it, because I know that's a big complaint. He hates S2. I don't hate S2, I just think S2 was miserable to play how it ended. I think that the direction for the game was bad. What about clams? I think Cooler and Kraken together, along with... The maps for clams are like a double-edged sword. They're really nice because they have a lot of routes, but they also, like, every Clam Blitz basket is, like, where a tower 3rd checkpoint would be. Like, that's where you have to go. And so nobody can fucking score, because everyone just insta-regroups with Cooler, and everyone loses their clams because everyone's trading all the time, and every time people die, they drop less clams. So everyone's just constantly losing clams, so making a football takes forever. Everyone's regrouping immediately. So, like, the only thing you can do is, like, win a fight, get clams, and then instead of pushing forward, you just have the Kraken go forward, and then you jump to the Kraken and regroup instantly with all your specials because you have Tacticooler. TC Rainmaker, I've never run actual Splatoon modes, literally so much different. That was gone worse since Crack is the game. Doing SE only one increases skill level. One of the new patch feels like shit having to think about 4 different modes to feel like that. I feel that as well, where like, it's kind of the Smash Ultimate problem in a way, where there's a lot of variety, and so the amount of things you need to know how to deal with has gone up, like, substantially. Which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but it can be overwhelming, and Zones finds a way to, like, mitigate it, I guess. Because it's a bit more standard. Radical Alex, thank you for Prime. Rainmaker has been the mode I've always disliked. I came around to it a little bit at the end of S2. I've always been okay with Tower. I don't like the Tower's special advantage. That's the main problem. But I think Tower is the one mode where it's like, I understand why people like it, even if I think it's bad. Like, I really get it, because it does have that, like, very aggressive team rotation style that's still very controlled. And I can understand if that's fun. Like, I get it. But, like, the special advantage on Tower is, like... The problem with Tower is that it shouldn't... The fact that there needs to be a special advantage that drastic for the pushing team shows that there's an underlying problem with the mode. Because, like, on defense, it feels horrible. Like, defending on Tower against a team that knows what they're doing feels, like, unplayably bad. It feels so, like, not out of your control, but it feels stacked against you. Because it literally is. The other thing is, like, how that special advantage stacks with attackers. I used this comparison in Splatoon 2. I said it's like Smash 4 Rage. Where, like, if one team gets a push to, like, 19 on Tower, they don't get passive special advantage when they're defending. So you just have one team that pushes, and they get the highest passive special advantage in the entire fucking game, and you get fuck all. So, like, they have a humongous comeback mechanic, basically, that makes it one-sided because you happen to get a lead. Like, you indirectly get punished for pushing really well first. Like, that's fucking stupid. It's like the most stupid mechanic in the entire game. Yeah, I mean, viability has always been Zone's strong suit, or maybe not always, but, like, I feel like viability has been, like, the best argument for Zones in general. Like, it's generally been that the more things work in Zones than anything else. Like, that's Rainmaker's problem, where Rainmaker, like, So many weapon archetypes just don't fucking work in Rainmaker. At all. Like, that's kind of a problem people talk about with Turf, but, like, it's honestly worse with Rain. Like, if your weapon doesn't do DPS, if your weapon isn't fast, if your weapon doesn't reliably kill, if your weapon doesn't have, like, either a sub-weapon that does, like, meaningful damage or, like, a beacon and a bomb, like, so many things just don't fucking function in Rainmaker, and you're just throwing by running them on your comps. I don't know. What I would want to see, especially because a lot of viewers complain about this as well. Also, yeah, you're good, Gray. Don't worry. I don't mind talking about stuff because I'm just doing series and it's like, you know, kind of. I'm not really focusing on the gameplay. I prefer to talk about the game. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I've come across as a zones only hater. I've definitely had like my big critiques with it, but I've never really minded it that much. But I'm definitely at the point where, like, yeah, I vouch for it really hard. I think what I want to see, and what I'm doing with the map poll right now, because I run the, for those of you who don't know, I hold a top player map poll thing. It was like an idea to help tournament organizers be able to communicate with top players more easily for map lists and get the map list a bit more standardized. So people would vote for, like, the 5 best maps in a mode, and the results would be published. What I'm doing now is zones will vote for more maps than just 5. And zones will be listed as a top 10. So we'll have what competitive players find the best zones map in the game, like all 10 of them, and that's long enough to potentially try out stuff like doing zones only on a map list. And I kind of want to see how that would go. Because obviously it's still very small, like a 10-person map list, compared to like all modes usually run 16. Which, by the way, God, I cannot believe how long it took to get 16 map modes. Like, I cannot tell you guys how hard it was to get people to like, get off 20 to 25 map modes. It was ridiculous. Like, we play too many goddamn things in this game. We play way too many goddamn things. Because it's their best chance to beat Japan. Do people really think that way? Because, like, I've never felt like that. I've always felt like that advantage is so overblown. Like, Japan is better at zones than the other modes, but, like, is the gap really that, like, game-changing for tournaments? I just don't think so. I think it's just over-exaggerated as hell. Yeah. I think, like, the good news is right now, I think more people are open to zones only. Like, especially in NA, I've talked with a lot of people who are open to it. A lot. Like, I talked with Basil recently, and Basil wants to do it. And, like, his team is really good at the other modes. But, like, I'm seeing more and more people be open to the idea of it. So, I think it's a good time to argue for it. I think the real question is just, like, are TOs gonna adopt it for, like, a major? Because SendouQ doing it makes sense, because, like, you know, SendouQ always does zones-only events, but, like, are we gonna see, like, IPL or Dapple go for a zones-only major tournament? Like, that I'm not sure about. Though, I guess IPL casted SendouQ, so, like, I know IPL is open to it, actually, for, like, some event. I know they want to run something zones only, which is cool, but I'm not sure how, like, it being ran in a major would be. But my idea is, the next major, do, like, 10 maps for zones only, and just do a zones only major, and just see how it is. See how viewers feel, see how players feel, see how it goes. You could do the map list so people won't whine about horrible map modes all the time, and players can have stuff to practice more specifically, so people can't complain about that. Because I think that's one of the bigger complaints with zones only, that some people don't mind playing zones only, but some people hate, like, every map in the game. Which, like, the more maps we get, the more I think it's a problem as well. Like, zones on every map was a bit more understandable when we had, like, 12 maps in the game. Now we have, like, 22. We're gonna have 24... and then 26 by the time the game ends. Possibly more if content gets extended, so, like, it's gonna be a problem. So, I mean, that's what I would want to see tried. I think that has the chance to, like, help out for people who have their grievances with zones only and give it a chance for people to have a try with it. But I don't know. I can understand, like, tournament orgs worrying about viewership, for sure. But I don't know. I mean, the viewership for the SendouQ tournament was good. And that wasn't even, like, scheduled to be announced that, like, IPL would do it. Like, that was a very recent thing. And it still did well, so, like, I feel like there is reason to believe that it would do well. But I think it's the best path forward. The other thing is, some of the Worlds teams might not want to do zones only right now because they're practicing for Worlds, and that is probably more understandable. Like, I think Jackpot is going to start getting in the phase of doing subs off all modes every map scrim, because, like, yeah. Yeah, I still am open to that, like, zones is every other map idea with the reduced map list. Like, I would be open to see that tried as well, because, like, then at least, if you're, like, I don't know, say, like, worst case scenario, you do have a team that's, like, the master of cheesing other modes somehow, then, like, you still have to beat them in a zones game to win the set. I don't think that scenario is ever really needed, but, like, then at least you have that kind of argument. So I could see the, like, zones, then other mode type deal for sets. That could be, like, that would be fine as well for me to try. Maybe I should include that in the poll. Like, I'll ask if people have an interest of, like, trying that kind of format out and see if people like it. I could put that in there. I'll probably do it after this game. I'll see if, like, other top players would be open to the idea, because it's a good way to run an interest check. I can see how many people like that idea. But either of those would be happy for me, honestly. I'm not, like... I just want, like... I want a bit more willingness to experiment with what we play with. Like, especially after seeing... Coney made a video on Smash talking about the stage list they have and problems with Smash and stuff, why people are bored of it. And, like, I'm not, like, super into Smash anymore. So, you know, I'm not in the player perspective for this. But, like, I saw that and I kind of thought of this game of, like... the resonant of we build the game we play in ourselves. It's not, like, what Nintendo does, it's what we do to decide our own competitive environment, and, like, yeah, that's how I see it, where, like, okay, it's up to us, and we've done all modes because it's the standard, but, like, we also used to play on every map mode in the game because it was the standard, and eventually we realized that was a stupid idea, and we stopped doing it. So, like, maybe it's time we experiment with, like, minimizing the other modes we do and prioritizing zones and just see how it goes. It doesn't mean we have to stick for it forever, but, like, yeah, in majors, we don't really mess with the rule set at all. And, like, I think that, yeah, maybe we could be having something more enjoyable if we tried. Like, the only reason Maplists started getting smaller is InkTV did a tournament where they had players vote on map list, and then had 12 map modes. And it wasn't a perfect format by, like, any means. I'm not trying to say it didn't have problems. But, like, them doing a small player voted on map list has led to player voted smaller map lists being more common. Like, it's not exactly the same, but, like, it made a lot of progress because a TO group went in and said, hey, we're gonna change this format, we're gonna do it this way, and see how it goes. And that kind of innovation we don't do. And, like, you know, I remember talking with Spoon when he brought up the idea to me, and I was like, I think you should do 12 maps, and he's like, no, we have this, like, best of 3 format, and because it's best of 3 in a mode, you only need 3 maps for each mode. And I was like, okay, that makes a bit more sense, like, go with it. And it was cool. And it was nice to see, like, everyone talking. Okay, let me catch up on chat. Yeah, like, it's only 2 teams in the West going into Worlds. Yeah, I mean, well, 3 with Australia, but yeah. It's not going to be that many, so I think tournaments there will be fine. I'm just saying, like, that reason I can expect for Jackpot and such. +2, +3 players can improve exponentially to be able to pick one mode and play their best weapons. Yeah, I mean, I think that's as well. Like, that's what I've enjoyed in doing SendouQ. I've also noticed, like, I played with a few pickups today, and, like, both the times the pickup that, like, I did 5 sets total with, like, a few different groups, the two sets where the groups did the worst in were both, like, well, not all modes. One of them was all modes, and one of them was Zones Tower. And, like, those were the worst sets. Right, and it was, like, mostly +1, like, some +2 level players. And I tend to see that as well, where, like, I feel like the gameplay is a lot more structured at lower levels when they play in zones only. I feel like there's a lot more of, like, an understanding, and games aren't lost as much due to, like, factors outside their control. I don't have the right word for it. We're, like... I guess, like, it streamlines the experience, I'll say. Like, it makes the improvement process easier. And I know this is something FLC talked about a lot for Splatoon 2, where, like, Splatoon 2 wasn't a game that did a good job of teaching you how to get better at it. Like, there was a lot of barriers as a player to where, like, you know you're doing something wrong, but it's really hard to tell what that thing is if you don't understand this game. And that's a sentiment, like, I've seen, like, newer X-Rank players struggle with in this game as well. Like, the sentiment of, I got to this rank, I'm struggling now, but I don't, like, I know something's not going right because I'm not winning, but I don't know what's wrong. And I feel like at a competitive level, like, Zones helps that issue where it's a lot easier to understand what you're doing wrong. And that just results in better players. In fact, I think that trend is true for SendouQ as a whole. I think SendouQ produced a lot of better players. Everyone was paranoid about, like, everyone getting into +1 is gonna be bad, and they're just gonna climb points, and, like, you know, some people climbed points, and then a lot of people ended up getting, like, nuked and stuff. But the majority of people who got into +1 were honestly at +1 level. Like, I think people over-worried about it. I'm not saying it doesn't have potential to go wrong, but, like, I think the system was very helpful, actually. And I think in general, SendouQ made a lot of people better. Like, I can name a few players off the top of my head I found that I think are really good that I found through SendouQ. Like, Boopy, or Pelu, or Half, like, just off the top of my head, are all players that, like, I kind of just found randomly and played with. Like, I play with Boopy all the time for, like, fun now as kind of a duo. And, like, I found them through, like, seeing them in SendouQ a bit, and then seeing them sub for Red Sun. And it's like, that just would not have happened without SendouQ being a system in place. It's like, it was a lot easier to recognize players and stuff and make players go higher up, which is also something everyone's whined about for, like, fucking forever. How many times have we had the Plus server debate? Like, Jesus Christ. That shit happened, like, every month. Yeah, I mean, I think it's because some people in +1 especially have it like, I'm a +1 level player. Like, it's the same thing people do with, like, some people have it up their ass about, like, SQ points. Like, I'm a SendouQ 1500 player. I'm a +1 player. I'm an XP 2800 player. And, like, the most common one, of course, is divs. I'm a div 2 player. I got div 5, but I'm div 2 if you really think about it. Like, God sakes. We have so many fucking labels people are obsessed with. Who gives a fuck? I don't care. God. Like, I don't know, maybe it's me when I, like, improved when I was there, but, like, I didn't have +1. There was no SendouQ. I didn't get to do pickups at all. I didn't get into +1 until I beat KP, Demise, and, like, pretty much every good team except FT Win, who we ended up beating later. And then I got in and no one else on my team. And I didn't sit there and whine about it either. And that's a lot considering I was a bit of an idiot back then, but I still had the decency to do that. Now everyone's obsessed with status symbols. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, for God's sakes, if you think, like, people getting in +1 are gonna ruin your experience, like, I don't know what to tell you. If, like, 10 new people getting in a +1 who perform well in a ranking system is going to ruin your +1 experience, you probably weren't very good at making the experience in the first place. Like, you might be the problem. Oh yeah, what weapon did you want to pick? I'm sorry. S-Blast? Okay, I'll do it after this game. 2 games of it. Thank you. I mean, it's a different topic, of course, but, like, that, like... SendouQ kind of opens the door for more people to, like, play with each other, and then Zones opens up the opportunity for people to be, like, improving faster and recognizing players faster. And I think, like, the two topics are correlated, where, like, SendouQ plus a more Zones-only environment is a good thing for helping the scene improve. And, you know, like, I could be talking out my ass, and maybe both those things being more common recently have nothing to do with what's going on recently, but I think they do. I don't think it's a coincidence that we have more good players now than ever, and more, like, again, In the Zone was a hype tournament. Like, I remember Sun, like, the guy who used to be on Seo, being like, I haven't watched tournaments as much recently, I found the game boring recently, but that was a damn good tournament. Or something like that in my replies. And there were 1,500 people watching, by the way. 1,500 people, like, combined from, like, my watch party, IPL, Kivers, Kyos, the player streams, etc. There were, like, 1,500 to 2,000 people watching. So, like, I don't believe that people won't watch zones only anymore. Like, I really don't. That's why I want more people to test it, because I feel like in the zones, like, hey, people are watching, you know? Who knows if that becomes more of a standard what happens, but, like, I think the precedent is there. Yeah, I mean, I really like SendouQ. I think SendouQ is the perfect balance between, like, ranked and scrims. Like, I like solo ranked, but solo ranked is also responsible for building so many god-awful player habits. And then the problem with scrims is people cannot fucking... So many people have a problem taking scrims seriously or get mean in them. They don't have, and then, like, compared to tournaments, they don't have enough stakes, so your mentality isn't there. And, like, both those problems are fixed. Where, like, there's enough incentive for people to actually care for it to feel closer to a tournament setting, but it's still enough to where you feel comfortable practicing. And this isn't to say, like, scrims and solo are useless. They're still, like, valuable to do. I think anyone trying to be the best player should still do all three. But I think SendouQ is, like, made the majority of the experience easier. Oh, that's a wiper jump. Yeah, I mean, shit, man. SendouQ's done so much for the scene, it's, like, impossible to go over it all. Like, I can't wait until more tournaments are hosted on this site as well, because I really like tournaments there. Like, the only thing I really enjoy using over for his tournaments is the feature to hide completed rounds, so you can shrink, like, a large bracket. Which I'm sure will be there eventually. And then, like, that's it. And now we have, like, a universal tournament site. And the other thing about SendouQ that's really nice, that, like, I don't think a lot of people talk about, is a lot of this a lot of the community we have is in, like, Discord or Twitter, and it's really hard to find. SendouQ has indirectly become a hub. You want to find art, you want to find builds, you want to match against people, you want to look for tournament sets, like, anything. It's literally all there. You want to find the most important tournament servers. Like, SendouQ has become this hub website that everyone's talked about we needed. He just built it, like, intentionally or not, and now that is a hub website. And it's awesome. Yeah, if a forum ever happens and we somehow get this community off of fucking Twitter, holy shit. I cannot begin to explain how happy I would be. I fucking hate Twitter. I fucking despise that platform. I want to delete my account every day. I hate that website. And, like, I mean, outside of Splatoon, the website is genuinely a horrible place. It is a horrible place. Like, I just saw, like, some post about GTA 6 that was, like, blatantly racist, and then the top replies are all people who paid for Twitter Blue and get boosted to the top. It's like a fucking KKK meeting in there. I'm like, what the fuck is this site? It's like, the site's shit anyway. There's no way we'd stay on here forever. But, no, that's a topic for another time. But if we ever fucking... A forums page on SendouQ, I would move discussion there. I would, like, post on Twitter, like, what I'm talking about, and then link the discussion thread on SendouQ and turn off replies on every single one of my posts. Like, that's what I would do. I would literally just use Twitter to say, hey, go talk there. I would turn off replies on every post. No one would talk about it there. If you want to talk about it, you have to discuss it on an actual forum, where people can type in multiple characters, and engagement isn't rewarded for being negative, and people aren't trying to dunk on each other, and then we can maybe have actual fucking conversations. Holy shit, it would be amazing. I don't even think people realize how bad Twitter is for the scene. Like, we're literally just on it because there was a requirement to register for Ludi a long fucking time ago. 60 blue check mark requests and everything is insane. Yeah, and you can't, like, block all the blue checks either, because they're, like, some people pay for it where it makes sense, because you can get revenue or you can make longer posts, where, like, I understand that. Like, if it wasn't owned by Elon Musk, I would probably buy Twitter Blue, because being able to post in more than 280 characters means I could actually post, like, meaningful thought pieces. Yeah, I don't know if a forum would ever happen, but, like, I would love it to happen. And we can't go back to, like, Squidboards or anything. Nobody used that site, I'm sorry. Or not nobody, like, people do, but we can't go back there. I think it has to be... I think the forums has to be in a hub-type website in order to work. I think people have to have other reasons to be on the website other than the forums. Which sucks, because, like, no hate to Squidboards. Squidboards is awesome, that's where I started. But, like, I think it has to be in one spot. Found some X-Rank leaderboard, and it's just, yeah, it's literally just AI bots. I remember clicking on one of them, and they had some post about eggs, and it's literally just an AI conversation with, like, 30 different people in it, and all of them are bots. All of the likes, all of the comments, everything. Some of them have multi-long comment threads, and they're all literally bots. Dead internet theory is crazy. Wait, weapon, sorry, I forgot. I've been forgetting the weapon. Okay, next game, I promise, I'm sorry. I will do 2 games. Yeah, like, that's what I get. Like, revenue and then the longer, like, posts are really, really nice. Like, I saw some of those. I'm like, damn, I wish I could post that many. But yeah, like, that would... The thread would be the dream. Again, I would just turn off replies on every post I make, and it would just be... I'm talking about this. Check it out here. Link. And that's it. That would be all my Twitter was used for, and then when enough people saw my posts on threads, I'd get rid of it. Like, if everyone moved fully, I would probably... I don't know. Unless if I have some people to keep up with outside the community, I'd probably just get rid of it. But I mean, as a whole, like, to kind of wrap up this whole discussion, I think the community is in a very interesting place where there's a lot of room for change, there's a lot of understanding, and we also have resources like SendouQ that we basically only dreamed of for years, as well as viewership is like some of the highest it's ever been. Like, early S2 and S3 had good viewership, but it didn't stay. We're now like a year into the game, and we're still able to get like 1,000 to 2,000 viewership on our major tournaments. You know, like that itself is like unprecedented and new. And so I think there's a lot of... And then, of course, the maps are getting better. Like, we're actually putting stages in the game, like Ramen, that actually, like, are fun. So, like, all of that stuff combined, and, like, more I'm not even talking about, is, yeah, I do know Spoken Spell. All of that combined is, like, leading to where I think right now we need to be experimental with what we want from the game. That's why. It's because I think we're in this opportunity to experiment and optimize things, and I'm worried we're gonna get complacent with, like, how things are. And I think right now we need to change it. And it's not gonna be easy. Like, the final comparison I can make is there were, like, 5 different Squid Coliseums before we went to SendouQ. And all of them went in the cycle of, like... Oh, we're not knocking out, but... All of them went in the cycle of, like... It's alive, it's cool... How do we keep this going long term? It's restricted, it dies. And, like, that failed, like, 3, 4, 5 times, I don't even know, until we eventually got to the SendouQ system we did now. And I think any person who has ever participated in Colos would say it is entirely worth it knowing the end result. And that's what I want for everything else. Because maybe that's true for Maplists, maybe that's true for forums, maybe that's true for letting people into the Plus servers from SendouQ, like, all of that. And, like, now's the time to start figuring it out.